Forgive the white pasty knees. It's going to be 30 degrees today, and when we're reaching that temperature, yes, I expose my flesh. So, hello folks, this is another modelling project, but it's starting off as if it's one of my videos I do on books that I've still got, which were a big influence on me, and yeah, the film fantasy Scrapbook by Ray Harryhausen, which came out in 1978, and I bought in 1978, and I'm very impressed with myself in that I read this book an awful lot, and it's still in really good condition, unlike some of the books. The sticker has long gone, so I'm not sure where I bought it from, but you can see it was £4.50 or $7.95 back in 78. And yeah, I'm that generation, maybe you're of that generation too, that grew up with the Ray Harryhausen films, would look in your daily newspaper on a bank holiday or a holiday Sunday, and if you saw any of the fabled film titles, that was it. That you were plonking yourself down, if your mum let you, in my case, and watch it. And yeah, I mean, I don't have to say it, do I? Ray Harryhausen, you know, what a massive influence he was, his films were, his creations were. Yeah, I don't need to say it, do I? So yeah, my background, other than being a massive fan of his films, was I did meet Ray once back in the late 80s. I went to the Museum of the Moving Image on the South Bank in London. I was taking my nephew there for a birthday treat, and just stumbled across Ray Harryhausen. He was being filmed for a documentary on his work, and he had an awful lot of his remaining models there, and I took photos of them, and I did meet him. I went across and said, "Look, great admirer of your work, and thank you for all your work that you've done." Foolishly, it never occurred to me to have my photo taken with him. I think I was just in awe and just put on the spot. So I have photos from that day of the models, but not of me and him, which I'm still regret. Anyway, onto this book before we get into the model. Film Fantasy Scrapbook, and this dates things in that this is the new edition with a colour portfolio of special effects from the Golden Voyage of Sinbad. All right, because this book is mainly all black and white, apart from the bit at the end, which, you know, is in colour. So here we go. We'll just have a quick flick through before we get to the modelling part. So yeah, here's Ray talking about his, of course, influence of King Kong, Mighty Joe Young. And this is all chronological. It's a really good book. I mean, I've got other Ray Harryhausen books that have come out in the last, 20, 30 years, which are a collection of his works and unmade things. But here in 78, you were having an in-depth look into his work, his puppetoons, like so, and then we're into his film work. It's a great book, as you can see, tons and tons of photos. Unfortunately, I mean, in these films were black and white, but when we get into the colour ones, it's a shame that there's only the colour for Golden Voyage of Sinbad. I mean, that would have been lovely in colour. Talking about, Ray's models that I've made as models, I used to have the geometric Cyclops, which was a soft vinyl one. I remember having to fill the legs with plaster of Paris. That was a good kit, which I have sold on, which I regret. I think about 10 years ago or something, I was like figure modelling out, and I moved back into hardware, and now I'm swinging the other way. I still do hardware, as you will have seen, but I've got more of a desire to do figure kits again. I think it's the old X Plus Aurora scale model kits that I've started doing Never had the Hydra. I'd love the Hydra. See, look, very behind the scenes. Really interesting photos of how they went about things and filmed things. All right. I had the little, the Japanese figures as well, like the sphere and the Grand Luna, blah, blah. I think I've sold them all. I'm such an idiot. Never ever sell things. You will regret it. No matter how hard up you are, you won't be hard up forever. Never had a Guanji model. And I don't know which I'd prefer if they became available, whether I'd prefer a Guanji or the Allosaurus from 1 million years BC. Here we go, Golden Voyage of Sinbad. That's a fantastic poster. Golden Voyage of Sinbad and Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger are the only two films, Ray Harryhausen films, I've ever seen in the cinema. And I remember that outside my local cinema. And just, what is this? Old Tom, I think it might be. Back in the days when you had painted artwork for film posters instead of photos like we get now. Yeah, our subject for today, and this might actually be the actual pose. We'll find out in a minute. So yeah, concept artwork by Ray, storyboard artwork. Yeah, great book, and I used to flick through this an awful lot. And it stops obviously here at Golden Voyage of Sinbad. Caroline. But I can remember being feeling somewhat cheated by the fact that some of the other creatures got more of a look in than old Carly. Where is she? Where is she? Oh, that's it. So the only Carly real shots we had were just here. And I think there's one in the photo, colour photo part. Let's go back. I was never keen on him. I think it's the fur. Fur always puts me off on stop motion. Yeah, look. That's it. That's her. You have one shot of Carly. Anyway, fabulous book that I've still got and will always have. So that's the preamble. Let's get to the model. Okay, so this model is made by Star Race, and looking into it, there's two versions of Carly that you can get. You can get the model kit and you can get the pre-paint, and the pre-paint is of her. It looks like she's in the pose she is when they first go in the temple before she comes to life. And that's a pre-painted statue, and that's about £200 more than this, which I cannot afford. I can't afford the price I've paid for it anyway, but I had a hankering, and so I've succumbed to my hankering. So let's unbox and let's see what we've got. It's a soft vinyl model kit. Hang on, let me just put my phone down while I get rid of it. Soft vinyl kit, which is good. I have plenty of experience of vinyl kits, figure kits from back in the 90s. So that ain't going to be a problem. I know there'll be no sanding, no seam lines. You just need super glue and a hairdryer. At least that's what I'm used to. So what we got? Looks like we've got resin swords. And no, these aren't resin. These are hard, solid vinyl. Have to check the swords, make sure they're not warped in any way, but a bit of hot water will sort that out. And then, yeah, these are the parts. This is just like the old Cyclops. There's not many parts. What I'm looking forward to doing with Carly is, she's a statue, isn't she? So the paint job's going to be nice and fun. Oh, this is interesting. The bag, each piece is sealed up. So you've got a series of different bags, each with a different part in. That's good. Can't really tell by the detail or the accuracy. I'll know that when I get the parts out. yeah, the painting challenge is going to be representing the stone and then choosing whether to colour it as if it's being lit like it is in the film, but we'll get to that part. And then we have sealed instructions. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. I should add, I've owned a Carly kit before, which was an unlicensed garage kit, which was resin and was pretty horrible, pretty inaccurate. Didn't come with any swords. I remember I had to make those out of plasticard, and yeah, it wasn't the best. Back in my drone days when we would go to the drone conventions, I remember taking her along to that one. So that dates it to from about 99 to about 2006. So 20 odd years since I last done a Carly. Let's get into it. Right, so everything is out of its packaging. Those plastic bags were high quality. They were quite tough actually to open. So let's go from head to bottom then. What's a nice surprise, and I'm not used to, is that usually in the old days with vinyl kits, you had to trim along the line yourself and remove all the excess. Somebody's already done this, all right, which is good, and I'm grateful for. I do need to do something though. I don't know if I can do this one-handed, but yeah, if you put her headdress onto her head, yeah, there's a bit of a gap. Now, of course, she's a metal statue, so that's not too bad. But yeah, that just needs a little bit of trimming there, I think. And I think round there it's pretty much, might have to do a little bit of puttying, but that's a great likeness to Ray's model. There's a shininess to this, and normally you don't have to wash vinyl, but I think I'm just to be on the safe side, I'm going to give all the parts a bit of a wash. So that's her head. She then has her headdress with its vague shapes. Ray says in one of the books that they wanted to play down the body horror and headhunting cannibalism side of Carly. All right, so that's that. Then we've got her torso, which is very shiny and very waxy. Definitely got to give this a wash. Okay, now this is interesting. We have different locating lugs for each arm, R1, R2, R3. They're all different shapes, which matches with the same shape in the other part of the arm, except the other parts of the arms aren't numbered. So it's basically a look for that shape hole, and then you've got the right arm. Okay, so again, lovely bit of work. Looking forward to all the dry brushing that's going to happen here. Here we go. We have got heads, but again, Ray was saying, you know, it's all part of the sculpture rather than them being real heads. Okay, so that's really good. Let's have a look at the one of the arms. So yeah, that shape there matches a lug on her body, and it's the same with the hands, like R1. I'm not sure because the instructions, let's bring them in. The instructions are that there's no indication of which arm is which. All right, that's all you've got, and a few warnings about using super glue and hair dryers. All right, so I've just got to work out, is R1 at the top or is R1 at the bottom, and then also find the hand that matches that shape. Oh, hang on. Oh no, that is numbered in there. That is R2. I don't know. I'll work it out. Then you've got our 2 feet. Now what I'm going to do here is what I always used to do. Even though this is quite thick vinyl, I'm going to fill that with plaster of Paris, and I'm also going to put plaster of Paris down each leg hole. It will only go to the bottom, so it's not going to seep out. So I'm going to do that. I mean, it's pretty substantial, but I've had experience of kits sagging over time. I'll refer you back to my Iria kit I redid a little while ago. And then, yeah, lastly, you've got her swords, which are shiny black plastic, not vinyl. All right. So again, these are very waxy to the touch. It could be that they've just been inside a plastic bag for such a long time. There's been a bit of a reaction. I'm busy doing other projects at the moment. This has just arrived, so I've just got it out to do this preamble before building. So it's going to be a few days, maybe a week, before I actually get started on her. So I think I'll just leave these all out, let the air get to them, give it a good wash, and I'll come back with parts assembled. Okay, this is quite a few days later, and that's because I gave everything a wash, a warm soapy wash, but they're hollow, aren't they? So water goes in, and water took ages to come out. Every time I thought it was, every drop was out, you go back to it, give it a shake, more came out. In the end, what I had to do was like drill a drainage hole each end and leave it like that for a few hours, give it a shake, turn it over, leave it like that. And yeah, there's no more now. So there we go, all washed and ready. I've trimmed the head slightly to get that to fit better, but there's still a bit of a seam that I don't like. I'm sure it's not going to show when everything's painted, but I'm going to put some green stuff in there. Yeah, her head, I had to put a drainage hole as well. All right. And I don't think I had noticed before, each arm has, like, that's R3. I've worked out it's 1, 2, 3. All right. And they are labeled, and you have a label on the end of the arm, L1, this one is. So that will be going up there somehow. What you haven't got is any sort of number for the hand, but each forearm has a different shape. And I think by just trying them out, that's obviously on this side, and then looking at a photo of the built up model, should be able to work out what hand goes onto what arm. And then, yes, as you can see here, I've filled the legs with plaster of Paris down in there, so it's nice and heavy now, because she is a bit of a top heavy lady. So all right, I've just got to get rid of that messy bit and start gluing. One of the attractions of vinyl kits is no dust, no sanding, hardly any flashing, and super glue sticks almost immediately. So let's get her assembled and I will return. All right, there she is assembled. Very easy. The super glue glued almost instantly. In fact, that can become a problem, because if you don't get it right first time, you're not going to take it apart again. So you have to do a couple of test runs of it, of fitting the part, and then pull it away, put it back, pull it away, put the super glue in, put it back, right? So the only problem that there was on a couple of the hands, they didn't quite go right up onto the wrist. So all I had to do was just snip the end of the lug off, and then they fitted fine. And yeah, with the hands, it was just a case of trying each one on each side to see whether it fitted. If it fitted, will the next one. And it was easy enough to work out. As you can see, a bit of green stuff up on her crown thing. And yeah, with it all together, you can now see that the feet are a completely different material to the rest of her. I don't think it's injection plastic. It's very dense, but I just think it's a much denser vinyl. And this is all to, they know that, that's quite a bit of weight pressing down. So she's all ready for primer. I'm going to do it in grey primer. I've been umming and ahhing about whether to paint her black and then dry brush grey, or grey then black washes, and I'm going to go grey with black washes. So my regular grey car primer will be going on her and the 6 swords. All right, well, the primer has revealed that gap was a bit bigger than I would have liked, so I've green stuffed that. So on top of the grey, I'm now going to put a grey, and here we go. Moody lighting effect or regular effect. I'm going regular effect, so I've got to mix up a grey that I think is similar to the original model, and that might be a bit tricky, and I'll explain that in the next bit. So I've hit on a small problem in that every reference photo I seem to be able to find of Carly is a still from the film, and therefore has, like here, the old lighting effect on it. Okay, and I don't want it that color. I want it more. In some of the shots, it's got the bluey purpley light, and in some it hasn't. But in other shots, she's got a green light on her, and this applies both to the stop motion model and the full size prop that was on the set. This is curious. This little picture of Carly says model of Carly. I don't know if that is that one. Maybe it is, but this is a peculiar colour scheme that doesn't at all appear to be the greys of the stop motion or the live action. Now, back in 1988, I bumped into Ray Harryhausen at the Museum of the Moving Image in London, where there was an exhibition on, and I turned to the photos that I took at the time, and there is that model. I know a lot of Ray's models deteriorated and he had recreations made, so I don't know if this is a recreation, because that doesn't look stop motion to me. I don't know if this is a recreation of the model from the same molds that has been cast, because sometimes he would do castings, wouldn't he, in bronze, and that's definitely got like a bronze coppery colour to it. That's definitely the model that's in the book. As you can see, this is the little cabinet of models from Golden Voyage of Sinbad. All right, so I'm going to have to go my own way. And what I've done, this is the beginning of it. Here she is. I've painted grey over the grey. And to start off with, this is Army Painter Field Grey, which is like this greeny grey. But that's nice. It's taken away the blue grey of the primer. Okay, and what I've done, just as an experiment before I put the black wash on, is I mixed a bit of ash grey, just as an experiment, and I've been putting it up quite thickly there, just to see what that will look like. I mean, this is just experiments, because this is all going to be covered up by the black wash. But I quite like that. I think the plan is put a black wash on it, dry brush the field grey back over, and maybe mix in a bit of ash grey, but certainly not as much as that. All right, so let's put a black wash on and see what she looks like then. Well, that has worked very, very well. This is Games Workshop's Black Legion contrast paint that I thinned down with water and sploshed on and allowed it to dry. And it being a contrast paint, will try and go down into the recesses and pull away from the highlights. So it's done an awful lot of work for me. I'm really pleased with this, how this has come out and the colour of it. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to need to do much in the way of highlighting. I've noticed in a couple of places there's bits I've missed, so I've just got to go back with a small brush and just fix those. But really, really pleased with that, how that's come out. Yeah, look at that. I don't know even if I'm going to do any dry brushing. I'll have a think. The other thing I've got to do is now just deal with the swords. There's a bit of a switch in the film. When I was watching it closely, When Sinbad throws Kura the sword, it's all steel, with the blade really quite shiny and a more muted steel for the hilt and handle. But when we switch to Ray Harryhausen's stop motion, the hilt is actually gold. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be doing a steel colour here and a gold there. All right. So yeah, I'm not much further to go on this one. Okay, there she is, all done. I've done the swords in silver, just like they are in the film, and you can see I've done the gold for the hilts. The last thing to do after putting the swords in her hands, which just push in really tight, they're never going to come back out, didn't have to glue them at all or anything. The very last thing to do is do this, dry brush this like coppery bronze colour that she has randomly all over her, and that was kind of like tricky to work out just where and how much, because she's always in motion. The stop motion version of her is always in motion, and usually in long shot. So it was a case of putting the Blu-ray on and pausing every few seconds. All right, but as you can see, it's not strictly accurate, okay, because I couldn't quite gauge just where. I mean, I knew there was a bit there, there was a bit there, there's some round on her left cheek, and that was it. That was her done. So very, very, very pleased with this. It's very accurate version. Much better, let me bring it in, much better than the one I had before, which was a proper garage kit. And in the pre-internet days, it was very rare for me to actually take a photo of any of my models, but I managed to find this off my old blog site, this photo, where I think I took it because I was scratch building that Dragonfly spaceship, and you can see I was in the process over there of doing one of the orbital weapon platforms from 2001. But there she is. You can see this gangly, inaccurate Carly being built there, and that was a long time ago. Now, all these years later, I've got the real deal, and I'm very, very pleased with it. I knew it would be a simple build and a quick build, but it was made a lot quicker by the fact that, you know, somebody had already trimmed the vinyl for me. There wasn't much in the way of prepping, and I think she's come out really well. I'm really pleased with this. She's going to go pride of place on one of my shelves. The only downside is I've got to niggle to get another Harryhausen creation, and I might well do. And if I do, I'm thinking Cyclops. Anyway, thanks for your time. Hope you found that interesting, and see you again soon.